Okay, everybody, we're going to try this again. For some reason, the iPad disconnected. It cut me off. So, anyway, kind of picking up where I left off, I was in New York City 6 months after 9/11, and just, it was very profound and very, for lack of a better word, very humbling. So, with that being said, I thought today would be appropriate to do a salute to New York City. I love New York. I love just about everything New York related. So I've got a bunch of stuff here that inspired me from New York City. Hi again, Mom. So just keeping in mind that this is my own personal salute to New York and my salute to the people who are so tough, so strong, and so wonderful. So I am going to start out with a fun little fact. And a few weeks ago, my beloved Major League Baseball team from here in Colorado was playing a Major League Baseball team from New York City, and one of our commentators made this really neat comment about the New York City team that I had no idea. And being a rabid baseball fan, you'd think I would have known this, but the New York Mets, their colors are orange and blue, and I'm not talking about Bronco colors, I'm talking about Met colors today. Their colors are orange and blue because of the two teams that came out of New York City, the two teams in their past. Hi again, Lynn. So those two teams being, of course, the Brooklyn Dodgers, who ended up moving out to Los Angeles, and the New York Giants, who ended up moving out to San Francisco. So I thought that was really cool, and I had never known that, so I kind of stored that in my memory bank. But as a salute to those teams and the players on those teams, I pulled some Met colored yarn. So this is the Twin by Woolmize. This is a fingering weight yarn, and here I've got Clementine, and this color is called Dora. So those are very, very close to Met colors. I know on camera this looks almost navy, but it is a very bright blue. So these guys are $37.99. And we had to do the math on this guy. It's 340 yards per 100 grams. And the skeins are 150 grams. So therefore, they are 510 yards. But this is one of Hannah's favorite yarns. And we just got the DK weight into. I'm just showing the fingering today. But it's 80% wool, 20% polyamide. So nylon, in other words. And it is, the wool is superwash. And this is great not only for socks, but this is wonderful shawl yarn. I believe Hannah has knit a shawl out of the Woolmize. And the hanks are wound really, really tight. So it doesn't look like there's much yardage there. But once you take this out of the hank, it kind of does a little mini explosion. So there's 510 yards per hank. And that is Twin by Woolmize, and it is $37.99. And I thought, as a salute to half of the Mets colors, which would be the Giants, I would show Pumpkin Spice by Hummingbird Moon Over the Moon sock. So this is also a fingering weight, and this is really cool. It's half dyed orange and half dyed black. So you've got two of the Giants colors right there. This guy is $32.95. And it is 450 yards. And Michelle's yarn, Michelle, who runs Hummingbird Moon, her yarn is fantastic. I cannot recommend it enough. So this is great sock yarn. It's great hat yarn. I've made shawls with it, sweaters. This is definitely it can do anything yarn. So I'm just featuring the Pumpkin Spice live today, but all the other colors are on the Fiber at 4 shopping page on the website, as is everything else I'm showing you today. So again, $32.95 for 450 yards of Over the Moon sock in Pumpkin Spice. Alrighty, next, two of my absolute favorite designers are based in New York City. When I think of New York, I know there's a lot of knit and crochet wear designers based out of New York, but these were the first two names that popped into my head. So the first name, of course, is my dear, dear friend, Melissa Leitman. And Melissa, actually both of the designers I'm going to talk about are both knitting and crocheting gurus. which I absolutely love because I do both myself, so it's nice to have that designer you can kind of identify with. So I did have Melissa Leitman's Indispensable Stitch Collection for Crocheters on the Fiber at 4 shopping page. I know I've talked about this book before, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but honestly, if you are a crocheter, this is a fantastic reference book to have in your library, especially if you kind of want to dip your toe in the pool of design work. This is a great, great reference, and it is $24.99. So I pulled over 2 of Melissa's knitwear books, and these kind of fall into a couple different categories. Book-wise, they're both technique and project books. So the first one I want to show you is called Knitting the Perfect Fit. This guy is $22.99, and what Melissa does in this book, she does have patterns, but she also has instructions in the front of the book, like basics, on how to measure and get your sweater fit perfect. So hence the name Knitting the Perfect Fit. So she's got instructions on increasing, decreasing, how to measure properly so that your sweater fits. And then, of course, she's got some absolutely gorgeous patterns in here. I have to find this guy real quick. There's one in this book I am in love with, and one of these days I'll make it once I get some more things crossed off my to-do list. But this has cardigans, pullovers. It has some coats in it, too. Oh, there's a tank top. So you've got year-round wearing. Oh, this one's so cute. I love this raglan sweater. And you know what, you guys? I forgot to mention, if you want to put it in the chat line, too, if you've been to New York and want to mention what you loved about it, what you saw in the chat line, let's have a little discussion going. And other than seeing Ground Zero, which, yeah, that's the very first place we went. We went to the theater district. Oh goodness, where all did we go? I didn't get to go to any of the museums, which is a little bit of a bummer, but I got to see a Broadway play on Broadway. Normally I only see them here in Denver, but anyway. So I love, love, love theater. I love art, so lots of stuff in oh, and I went to Tiffany's just for fun. So if you guys want to put in the chat line what you love about New York, or if you went to New York and what you love, let's get to talking about it. Marianne, have you ever been to New York City?
Oh, yeah.
How many times?
Several.
What do you love about New York?
Oh, I love the theater.
While I'm looking for this pattern.
Yep, I love the theater. I love the energy. The theater, the energy, the museums are magnificent. You can't beat the museums in New York. So, yeah. So.
Why did you go to New York? Do you have family or just for fun?
Both, mostly just for fun, but our son lived in New York for a number of years, so
Nice.
He attended NYU, so we went to see him a couple of times.
Cool.
Yeah.
After the musical that we saw was over, we went and talked to some of the people in the pit, and I got to talk to a drummer who graduated from Juilliard.
Yeah, nice.
So,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go to New York, but never have. Lynn, it is so much fun. I know a lot of people talk about, it's kind of dangerous, kind of dirty. Oh, whatever. It is such a fun place to go. It's so educational. The food is amazing. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on the food. But this is the sweater I wanted to show you guys. This is called Sydney. And isn't that design fabulous? And she even did it in a fabulous color. How about that? So this is Melissa Leitman's Knitting the Perfect Fit. This is an awesome, awesome book, both reference-wise and pattern-wise. This is just a great book to have in your knitting library. And then I have to show this book, and I have to brag about it, because 2 years ago, February, we were at a yarn festival. It was our last one pre-COVID. And guess who happened to be there? It was Melissa Leitman. And I have a copy of this book at home, but guess what? Mine's autographed because I bought it directly from Melissa. Hey, Gloria. So this is another book that really crosses the divide between technique and pattern. So she gives you this is called Knitting Modular, and it's shawls, wraps, and stolls. And she gives you ideas on shapes, on stitch patterns, and how to combine them to make your own shawl. So we've got some lace patterns in here, and also the different shapes. You can make like different wedges to create a shawl. So let's look at this guy here. This is really cool. So there are instructions in here on how to design a shawl like this triangle guy. And when Melissa was on Fiberside Chats the first time, she said when it comes to making pieces like this for a shawl, the more you make, the more pieces you make, the better it lies across your shoulders. So if you have triangle wedges and you have 4 of them, they'll sit okay. But if you have 5 or 6, it'll sit a lot better. And of course, it all depends on what size shawl you are wanting to make. And this is a knit book. I think I neglected to mention that. So this one is shawl number 11. Mom, I think you need this book if you don't have it already. I mean, not that you need any help or anything, but Melissa's definitely a good inspiration. Oh, here we go. This is shawl 16. So she gives you instructions on the lace patterns and how to combine the wedges to create your own shawls. Yes, you do need it, Mom. So this book is $32 in here. I'll show you the back too, because, oops, sorry about the lights there. There's some great shawls in there. And Melissa actually did just release a new pattern. I neglected to check if it's on Ravelry, but it is on her website. It's called Percorsi, Percorsi. And it is an adorable sport weight short sleeve sweater that uses short rows and striping. I'm actually making it out of fingering, so I needed to adjust my needle size, but fingering is what I had. I didn't have any sport in my stash. So I highly recommend taking a look at that if you're looking for a nice short sleeve sweater. Marianne, do you think you could feed that into the chat line? It's on Melissa's website. Okay, cool. So Knitting Modular by Melissa Leitman, $32. Alrighty. The next designer I thought about when I think about New York City is Nikki Epstein. And Nikki, like Melissa, does both knitting and crocheting. She has so many books, so many designs. She's very, very prolific in the design business. And what I brought today, not a Nikki book, but I actually got this here at the shop a few years ago when it first came out. This is Crochet Red. And this is... they did a crochet red, knit red, and I think they also did a sewing red book too. So this is a book that is written to raise awareness for women's heart issues. And part of the proceeds from the sales of the books went to, I think it's called The Heart Truth, which is a charity to help women learn more about heart disease. So Nikki has a wonderful design in this book. And actually, so does Melissa, but we're talking about Nikki now. This is called the heart-shaped coat. So keep in mind, this is crochet. Isn't that fantastic? The heart-shaped coat? It's a heart-shaped coat. It might be on Ravelry. I don't know. I'll have Marianne take a look. But look at this stitch work. Isn't that great? And... so because this book is called Crochet Red and it's all heart awareness themed, I thought I'd show you a couple of great red yarns that you could use for this crocheted sweater. This guy is worsted weight, and because it is crocheted, it does take quite a bit of yarn, but looks like it takes, depending on the size, anywhere from 2,220 yards to about 5,000, I think. The math side of my brain doesn't work quite as quickly as the artistic side of my brain. So I thought that this Ella Ray Rustic Aran would look fantastic in that sweater. This is 75% lamb's wool and 25% silk. It has a slight tweed to it, not a real in-your-face tweed. So it would give you kind of a really subtle color differentiation in it. So this guy is $17.99, and there are yards in here. 208 yards. And this color is called Cardinal. And again, of course, we have a lot of colors. I'm just choosing to show you the red tonight. So again, that is Elleray Rustic Aran, and it is wool silk blend, and it is $17.99 for 208 yards. So for this sweater by Nikki Epstein, it would take a little bit more than their suggested yarn, just because the skein is a tiny bit smaller. And then another great red yarn, we can't forget our Malabrigo. This is Ravelry Red Rios. This is about as red of a Malabrigo you can get, and beautiful, yeah. So the Rios is again a worsted weight. This is 210 yards for $17.99, and it is 100% superwash merino, so this can go in the machine and lay flat to dry. And again, we have so many colors of the Rios, but I thought I would feature the red. I think that sweater would be absolutely gorgeous out of this. And seeing as I can't pull one of every kind of worsted weight off the wall to show you guys, I think a burgundy would look absolutely fantastic for that sweater too if you're not into that bright red. So something a little bit more tame than the super bright reds. So again, our shop favorite, Malabrigo Rios, $17.99 for 210 yards, and it is 100% superwash merino. I'm going to grab a sip of my water real quick. Sorry, I know my water bottle makes funny noises. Okay, another thing I love about New York, as I have mentioned earlier, is theater. I am a musical theater junkie. I have lost track of how many musicals I've seen. I have lost track of how many musicals I've been in. I've lost track of how many musicals I've played in Pitt. I love musicals, with the exception of a couple just because I've done them too many times. But one of my absolute favorite, I think it's tied for my #1 favorite musicals, is Wicked. Wicked is coming to Denver in, I want to say, August of 2024, sometime in the summer of 2024. If you haven't seen Wicked, go see it. Trust me on this one. Even if you don't like musical theater, it is a fantastic show. And even if you're not crazy about plays, you should at least go for the costuming. The costumes are breathtaking. So, of course, Wicked is about, if you're not familiar with it, it's sort of like a prequel to The Wizard of Oz. It's about the witches of Oz. So I brought to share with you guys tonight the book about the play. So this book is called The Grimmary, if you want to look it up on a book-selling website or try and find it in one of your local bookstores. If you've seen Wicked or if you've read Wicked, you know the significance of the title of this book. So I wanted to show you guys, and I can't go through the entire book as much as I'd like to. This is an amazing book. The two main characters, of course, are the two main witches of Oz, which is Glinda the Good Witch and the witch that society has named the Wicked Witch of the West, otherwise known as Elphaba. So, and I prefer to call her Elphaba. So, Elphaba is, of course, the green-skinned witch. I don't like the word witch in this context. We'll just call her Elphaba. So I had to show you guys this Sun Valley 100% superwash worsted. This is actually called Wicked. It is a super bright emerald green. And since the second we brought it in, I've been trying to think of a reason to buy this and use it. This is $28. Again, 100% superwash merino. And there are, how many yards in here? 220. So there is your Elphaba color. For almost the entirety of the first act of Wicked, Glinda, well, she starts out as Galinda and then changes her name to Glinda, wears a lot of pink, lots and lots of pink. That changes in the second act, though. She broadens her color horizon. So I thought to salute Glinda, I would pull Parchment from our Sun Valley collection. So this is a pale pink, and it's a tonal, so it goes from like a pale pink to kind of a tannish pink. So that is a really, really neat color. And is anybody else chiming in about what they like about New York City? I know there's been a couple comments. So anyway, I thought this was great because I'm representing both Elphaba and Glinda with these colors. So Sun Valley Fiber, this of course is a worsted weight. I forget if I said that. It is 100% superwash merino. It's $28 for 220 yards. So there's Parchment and there's Wicked. And we've got a lot more colors than just these two. So yeah, I just love theater. So another play that kind of comes to mind when you're talking about knitwear is cats. Cats, they have actually staff members, costumers that make hand knit garments for the cats. They have arm warmers, they have leg warmers, and it's not just to fit the costume of the character, but it's also to keep their muscles warm, because Cats is about 95% dancing and 5% music. So I have a really good book about cats, and the pictures are great if you can see them up close, but unfortunately far away they're not so hot. So I found a picture of skimble shanks, so you can kind of get an idea of those knitted garments, and they are hand knit. So I imagine after a bunch of shows they have to re-knit them. So, but they keep them very fuzzy. Okay, what did my brother say? The Greyhound station in Albany was clean. I like that. Thank you for chiming in, Robert. So those arm warmers and leg warmers are all hand knit, and they have kind of a fuzzy texture to them, or a kind of halo, depending on what type of cat they're trying to emulate. So the first thing I think about is the cat named Victoria, who wears head to toe white. So her arm warmers and leg warmers have the halo to them, so they're very fluffy. So when I think of fluffy, I think of two different things. So I pulled up this Wabi Sabi Farm. This is the 10-year anniversary yarn, or one of the colors of the 10-year anniversary yarn. This color is called Beatrix, and the yarn is actually named after the animal that the fiber comes from. So this is 80% alpaca and 20% bamboo. This is fingering weight, and there are 300 yards in here, and this is $31.99. And it already has a soft halo to it because of that alpaca. But let's say you wanted something with a lot of halo to it. What I think you could do is pair it with the lace weight Shibui Silk Garden. And I mean, those colors are almost exactly the same. So this Shibui Silk Cloud would give you extra added halo to that. So the Silk Cloud is $29.99. This, of course, is a lace weight yarn. And it's 60% kid mohair, 40% silk, and there are 330 yards in here. And you can work with this on its own, or you can pair it with another yarn to get that added halo. If you work with it on its own, if you use a bigger needle or hook, you get this really nice open lacework looking project with that nice halo on there. So that is the Shibui Silk Cloud, and this is the Wabi Sabi Farm 10-year anniversary fingering weight yarn, and the color Beatrix, and this guy is Ivory. And I could just sit here and pet the alpaca all night. This is so soft. Bye, Teresa. Have a good night.
You too.
So that is my cat-themed yarn. So moving on, another thing I love about New York, I am an enormous Billy Joel fan. Ask any of my family members. I dragged my husband and my brother to the Billy Joel concert at Coors Field when he was here in 2019. In fact, that was the last thing at Coors Field I went to pre-pandemic. So if you guys are interested, I did pick up this cool magazine at the grocery store. So it's a Life magazine about Billy Joel. And this has a great history about him. It's got great pictures. It's got sheet music, lyrics, all sorts of fun things in here. So if you're a big Billy Joel fan like I am, get to Safeway and see if they have this. But Gail brought in this absolutely wonderful scarf that made me think of Billy Joel. Actually, it made me think of Hannah first, and then it made me think of Billy Joel. So this is a Joyce Susan scarf, and this is called Purple and Navy Instrumental. Okay, I didn't drag my brother, but I did drag my husband. And he ended up having a great time anyway, so I don't know what all the fuss was about. So this is a nice gift item. It's a super nice scarf, and I didn't even know until I unfolded it that there was a nice French horn there in the middle. And let's see if there's a fiber content on here. This is really soft. Hand wash cold. 100% viscose. So that's a plant-based fiber. It is hand wash only. And that just made me think of Billy. Let's see here. During Billy Joel's concert was one of my favorite concerts, and that was probably over 30 years ago. I have seen him 3 times in person. I've seen him almost every time he's come to Colorado. I missed him once, but I saw him once live by himself, and then we saw him with Elton John, which was amazing. And then we went to the Coors Field concert in 2019. He's been doing a stadium tour, at least pre-pandemic he was. So he was going around to all the baseball fields. So he went to Coors Field. I think he stopped, I think he was in Baltimore before he came to Denver. And if you go online to either his Facebook or Twitter page, they actually have photos of the concert lineups from those nights, which is really, really awesome. And I know I'm bunny trailing here a little bit, but what's really cool about Billy Joel is he's not just a musician. He is an entertainer, and he takes the time to introduce every single member of his band on stage. So by the time you walk out of there, you know their names, you know what instruments they play, and he even let his guitar player sing a song, and this man had this amazing, very tenor voice. I don't remember what song he sang, but it was very operatic. Oh, it was lovely. So anyway, so this is a Joyce Susan scarf. It is the purple and navy instrumental, and this thing's quite substantial. It's probably, I want to say, 6 or 7 feet long, 3 feet deep. We have more styles, but this one just made me think of New York City. So this guy is $24, and it's a really super, super soft scarf. So this scarf made me think of another New York City related thing. When I was in New York, I got to take the backstage tour at Radio City Music Hall, which if you guys ever go to New York, trust me, you want to take this tour. It is so much fun. Well, Radio City Music Hall has music-themed carpeting throughout the building. It was designed specifically for the Radio City Music Hall, and it made me kind of think of this scarf too, because they had instruments and treble clefs and bass clefs in there. I think they had guitars, violins in the carpeting. So this is kind of a stretch, I know this, but going from Radio City Music Hall carpet to the Radio City Music Hall Rockettes. First of all, I will be the first person to say that these women are absolutely amazing. We found out on the tour that these women have to be proficient in at least 3 different styles of dance. They have to be proficient singers before they will ever be considered. So most of these women know how to do ballet, tap, and either modern or jazz, that kind of dancing. Well, the uniform they wear still to this day was designed by Bob Mackie. And if you guys are not familiar with Bob Mackie worked a lot with Cher. He did a lot of her costuming. And if you know the Carol Burnett show, he did the costuming for the Carol Burnett show as well. So the uniform...
He did the green curtains.
He did the green curtains on the Carol Burnett show, yeah. And he is still working very prolifically today. I visited his website this morning, and he has these absolutely stunning drawings on the website that you can look at. And some of them looked very familiar, looked like either Carol Burnett costuming or work for the stage that he's done. Hey, Nancy! So the uniform that the Radio City Rockettes wear is kind of an asymmetrical jacket that is gold and purple. So I couldn't find anything technically Bob Mackie inspired on Ravelry, but I did find something very, very similar to what the Rockettes wear. So I found this asymmetrical sweater, and this is called Asymmetric Cardigan. It is by Laura Grutzek, and it is from the book Knit So Fine Designs Knit with Skinny Yarn. So this guy is made with a DK weight yarn, and it's got the asymmetrical button line there. So if you were looking at a Radio City Rockette uniform, this half would be gold and this half would, well, actually this half would be gold and the bottom half would be purple. So I was thinking with this sweater to kind of jazz it up a little bit to make it more sparkly and more Radio City Music Hall Rockette-ish, which I don't even know if that's a word, but it is now. I thought this wool pop would be fantastic for that because it does take a DK weight yarn, and the wool pop has the wool in the center, and it has a bamboo thread kind of wrapped around it, giving this really cool shine. And because this has sort of a seed stitch to it, the wool pop has amazing stitch definition. This would show off that seed stitch really, really nicely. So this guy is $17.99. It is 50% bamboo, 35% superwash wool, and 15% polyamide, and it has 284 yards in it. So kind of sticking with the purple thing. It's not available on Ravelry. It's only available on the, it should be on the Interweave site if you want. There you go. So, kind of sticking with the purple of the Radio City Rockette uniform, I thought the purple would look really, really nice in that particular cardigan. And Marianne is feeding the book information into the chat line right now. So that was my own personal salute to New York City and just everything it stands for, everything, the people, the food, the theater, the music, the museums, everything, and just kind of what it's meant not only to me but to the country. So thank you so much, you guys, for joining us tonight. And I will not be here next week, but Melanie will be with you, and she will be talking about weaving. So have a lovely week, and I will see you later. Bye.